Today we're making whipped feta and heirloom tomato crostini. It is an awesome appetizer to take advantage of the wonderful spring tomatoes and something that you can bring to Easter brunch, Mother's Day, Father's Day, or just make as an appetizer for some cocktails with your friends. You're going to want to start out with a nice crusty loaf of white artisanal bread. You can use baguette. I prefer to use a wider country loaf so that you can get more tomatoes on the surface area of the bread. So all you want to do is slice it with a serrated knife on a diagonal in about 1/2 inch thick slices. Now that you have the bread nice and evenly sliced, you want to brush it evenly with olive oil. Make sure to get quite a bit of olive oil on there. It's going to sink in a little bit at first, but you want a nice even coating. We're going to put it into an oven at 375 degrees and we'll toast it for about 10 minutes. And now we're going to make a marinade for the tomatoes that are going to be going on top of the crostini. We're going to start with our shallot, and I'm starting with a medium-sized shallot. A lot of times in my classes, people ask me if they come in, well, I call them twins, but they come in twos, kind of combined into one. Is that considered one shallot or two shallots? It depends on the size of it. This size is what I consider a medium size. So if this came with two in it, you would use both. So we're just going to start by chopping the shallot up. Start by cutting off the stem end, then turn it over onto its root end and cut directly through the middle of that root end. And then we'll peel it from here, and we're going to cut it just like we would an onion, just on a smaller scale. Next, we'll add the chopped garlic, the red wine vinegar, the olive oil, a little salt and pepper, and then we'll whisk it all together to combine. And now my favorite part, the heirloom tomatoes. I'm using a couple different kinds of tomatoes actually. I'm using the heirloom tomatoes that I love to get from Trader Joe's, and then I'm also using little cherub tomatoes, which are so incredibly sweet. They're just gonna add this awesome like sweet undertone to the crostini. So all we're gonna do is cut these guys in half and add them to the marinade that's been sitting for about 5 minutes. We're going to chiffonade add the basil, probably about 3 tablespoons, and we're going to add it to the heirloom tomatoes that are already sitting in the marinade. We're going to mix it and let it sit so all the flavors come together. And now for the whipped feta. You're going to be using feta, obviously, and I like to use the feta that comes in a block. I don't like to use the feta that's crumbled already because it doesn't whip as smooth. We're also going to be using cream cheese. You want it at room temperature so that it whips really well into the feta, and olive oil, salt and pepper, and lemon juice. Super easy. We're going to put it all into the little mini food processor and blend it until it's nice and smooth. Now that we have all of our pieces done, we're going to put it together. We're simply going to spread our whipped feta onto our toasted bread, put the tomato mixture on top of that using a slotted spoon, so we're leaving all that liquid behind so it doesn't make the bread soggy. And then we're going to top it with a few toasted pine nuts. And if you want to, you can get super fancy and use some high-end olive oil just to top it off. Other than that, that's it. An awesome spring dish you can take and eat anywhere.